everyone, Amber back with another Mission Impossible episode review. This time I'm reviewing Season 5, Episode 20, which is called Kitara. Just wanted to show off, it actually arrived today. I got my Mission Impossible t-shirt. Thank you very much. You can find this on the Mission Impossible Facebook group, the link, if you'd like to order one of these. It's available in all sizes, even for extra large, which is what I need. It looks fantastic, as you can see. It's got the fruit from the Revival series with Terry Markwell. My personal preference, I wish it had Jane Badler, but you know what? I'll take it. I really love the shirt. So we start in the country of Bokamo, in West Africa, so says the TV, where we have a black man being chased by white men. He trips and is caught. He says he is humble school teacher John Darcy, but Colonel Kohler accuses him of stealing a military truck full of gold bullion and tells his Lieutenant Maxfield there is no doubt the man is the wanted rebel leader Kitara. I am going to use the words white and black for the purposes of this episode because that, for good or bad, take it as you will, that's what the episode is about. Jim uses spy speak to get his instructions in yet another not-so-secure area. The mission, rescue Kitara and put an end to Kohler's suppression of the non-white majority in his province. We have another apartment scene with the usual talk of techniques and Barney displaying a special bulb that will turn Kohler's skin black as part of the plan. Darcy is being held in a hot box outside Kohler's compound in an effort to make him talk, but of course he doesn't. Colonel Jim arrives with Dr. Doug, sent to confirm Kitara's identity. Doug checks Darcy out, saying he is dying from heat exhaustion, but Kohler will have none of it, and says he figures their presence is purely out of political jealousy. He caught Kitara when others seemed unable, and it is clear he deserves a promotion above others who want it. After Kohler leaves, Jim and Doug suggest to Maxfield that Kohler suffers from narcissism and might want Darcy to die so that he can tell whatever story he wishes, leaving Maxfield a bit concerned. Dana interviews Kohler at his estate for a magazine about his rags to riches career, and Jim and Doug arrive for tea, allowing Dana to quietly put a pill in Kohler's cup, and the ensuing discussion revolves around blacks passing for whites, and how in rare cases they are found out rather late in life, with Dana expressing her disgust at how such cases end up being treated. Meanwhile, Paris and Barney infiltrate the grounds. Barney climbs up to Kohler's bedroom, replaces the bulb in his bathroom with the IMF special, and then makes noise in the room as though he's trying to break into the safe, catching the attention of the butler, who holds him until Kohler and Maxfield come up, and Barney is put in a cell. Later, he tosses his plate of food at the guard, earning him a trip to the hot box next to Darcy. That evening, Kohler takes a shower, as usual, with the bulb at work. He awakes the next morning, doesn't notice anything at first until he looks in the mirror and gets quite a shock at his black skin. He tries to wash the color off in the shower, but, well, you figure it out. Jim gets upset at the colonel's absence, demanding that Darcy be brought in for questioning, but Maxfield says he has orders to the contrary. Jim then asks about Kohler's wife, who died from an accidental fall while she was pregnant a few years ago, and hints that the matter seemed to have been conveniently swept under the rug by Kohler. Barney uses a coin to communicate with Darcy in Morse code using Swahili, while Dana arrives for another interview with Kohler, taking pictures of an old picture of Kohler with his grandfather, and is told by the butler that Kohler is unavailable. Kohler calls for Doug for his medical expertise, but Jim demands that Doug be allowed to check on Kitara first. Kohler allows it. Doug gives Darcy water and allows him to keep the bottle, which Maxfield denies, but Jim countermands him. Jim gives Barney a look before leaving the compound, and Barney again starts communicating with Kitara, now able to reply with the bottle top. Jim questions Maxfield further about Kohler, about how his wife died from falling down the stairs, which he already mentioned. The stairs certainly don't seem rickety now, and how Kohler doesn't let his hair grow. Maxfield realizes that all the innuendo must mean, he's building up to something. Doug checks out Kohler, who seems fine except for the obvious issue, and suggests that maybe a hot bath would help. A guard hears the tapping from the hot boxes and pulls Barney out. Jim questions Barney, who responds with special coded words telling the IMF that the gold is hidden at a village called Sugano, where Jim finds the stash. Dana calls Kohler and says she's found a copy of the picture of him with his grandfather at a nearby curio shop and needs to discuss it with him. The butler overhears the conversation. Dana comes over with the picture, showing Alex as a child, but showing his grandfather in the pictures as a black man. And she turns on the light against his wishes, saying she just wants to help him. She tells him that Doug suspects that he's passing for white and he's in trouble. They head to the curio shop where proprietor Paris confirms that the picture is genuine, and the boy in it is the grandchild of the black man, rubbing a compound over Kohler's picture and changing the skin color of the man in it. Kohler is absolutely crushed, smashing the picture against a mirror. Paris tries to console him, saying that he is 1/16th black himself, and Dana gives Kohler a ring injection of a hypnotic drug. The butler tells Maxfield what's going on, while Paris puts on a mask of the black grandfather, telling Kohler in his dying moments that he had the picture fixed and to remember that his grandfather made him white to secure his future. Paris revives Kohler, telling him he fainted, as Maxfield arrives, seeing that the innuendo about Kohler was true and putting him under arrest. However, Paris pulls out a pistol and says that he and Kohler are leaving, and tells Kohler that as his brother, he deserves his help to be hidden. Dana tells Maxfield how this whole escapade demonstrates the nonsense of his country's racist policies, as Jim and Doug arrive, saying that now they have proof of what was suspected all along about Kohler, and Maxfield is now in charge. Paris takes Kohler to Sugano to hide, where Maxfield comes with his men to find him. A manhunt similar to the opening scene ensues, and Kohler is caught. Maybe it might even have been in the same place where John Darcy was caught earlier. Maxfield finds the gold, and Jim tells him that now the real Kitara has been found. Jim and Doug take Barney and Darcy to the Capitol for further questioning, telling Darcy that Kohler will be back to normal within a week, although he and Maxfield will be quite embarrassed. And a message comes in indicating that they should take the gold with them to the Capitol. Mission accomplished. I'm going to give this episode a grade of B-. Again, kind of on the borderline with C+, although I think it does deserve to be a little bit away from that line for these reasons. Let's start with the good. This is another old school mission like the previous one, the Cataflac, where it shows us that the old school formula can still work and work well under certain circumstances. This is a typical kind of thing that we would see in the first few seasons, where the IMF just manipulate and use techniques and gadgets and whatnot to accomplish their mission. Nothing wrong with that. Decent Power of 5 episode as well. Paris's role was a little bit minor. This was this is obviously towards the end of the season. It was filmed towards the end of the season, and we've already talked about Leonard Nimoy basically being mentally prepared to leave the show. Although he's a pro all the way, you wouldn't know it by watching this episode. Obviously, you cannot talk about this episode at all without talking about the Anviliciousness of it. That's what this episode is basically all about. To me, it kind of goes a little bit over the line of interfering with the main story. When I did my first go-round through the episodes, what I actually wrote was this: a super Anvilicious episode, but not in a way that detracts from the actual mission. I suppose that's true. It certainly doesn't detract from the actual mission. But the whole idea of dealing with this, hyper racist country is I think the line was crossed a little bit in terms of the story, because that just overwhelms the story completely. But again, in terms of the actual mission, what the IMF is supposed to do, it does make perfect sense. This is a case of some anvils need to be dropped, right? You can also look that up on TV Tropes, where it's Anvilicious, but it's Anvilicious because it has to be, right? This is a message that just needs to be put out there, and I certainly hope we're not going to find anybody who disagrees with the anvil that is being dropped in this episode. Also good, Lawrence Dobkin, who plays Kohler, does a great job of carrying this episode as the villain. He's a fantastic actor. I don't know how, frankly, they achieved the effect on Lawrence Dobkin's skin because it really does look. If it's a makeup job, boy, it's a heck of a makeup job. Or if he like literally, lay in a tanning bed for hours, risking his own health. Oh boy, I sure hope that's not the case. But the makeup people or whoever was responsible for that, they did a really, really fine job here. The plot is okay. I would say it's kind of an average plot. That leads into some things that I want to mention that are not so good. The first thing that's not so good is that the apartment scene basically tells us exactly what's going to happen in this episode. Jim basically spells out, or Barney actually basically spells out, that they're going to put this bulb in his shower that is going to turn him dark. And Dana is going to put a little thing in his tea, or whatever drink I suppose he was going to have, that is going to make him more susceptible to what the bulb is doing to him. Okay, but again, it reminds me of other episodes, and I've mentioned this in the past, where it's a great idea, but when it's spoiled towards the beginning of the episode, that leaves a little bit to be desired. A great example, the one that I can think of right now, is from season 4, Orpheus, where, I think everybody should recall that one. I've mentioned it a couple of times before, where the IMF is trying to track an assassin. And they obviously don't know who he is. Nobody knows who he is. But we see him from the very beginning of the episode. So for us, the audience, that is a bit of a downer. Just to kind of put a bow on the point about the Anviliciousness of the episode, I think the big problem that I had with it is the way, the dialogue around it is not smart. It starts out with, Doug and Jim, after their first conversation with Kohler, they talk to Maxfield and they start dropping these hints about, I wonder what that's all about, that sort of thing. That wasn't so bad, but then it continues. Where Doug starts talking about, well, yeah, you know what? We've got people trying to pass as white all the time. There's this condition called lamposa hychondra. Oh my God, are you serious? Lamposa hychondra? That was just dumb. And it just gets kind of worse from there. All this talk, all this discussion that Jim has with Maxfield, where Maxfield, I can't really tell whether he is either, stupidly playing dumb to all of Jim's hints and innuendos, or whether he's deliberately playing dumb. Either way, it's not good. When Jim talks about, oh, yeah, so, his wife took a fall and, she was pregnant, and boy, I wonder what that's all about. And, I wonder what this is all about, and I wonder what that's all about. That's curious. All of that. All of these silly little hints and back and forth. And that part of it was not good. I think that's what kind of bothered me here. Other than that, I think that the issue of racism as it was addressed in the episode was handled quite well. Other than that dialogue from Jim and Doug, I liked the parts from Paris. At the curio shop, that part of it was actually pretty good. Where Paris is talking to him kind of, like his brother. Look, I understand. I'm part black myself. All of that kind of stuff. That was good. Dana's part about trying to impress upon them, look, your policies are ridiculous and stupid. That part of it was fine. But really, it was just that interplay between Jim and Maxfield about him just not getting the hints of, the innuendo that Jim is trying to put on him. That's what really bothered me about this episode, and that brings it down a notch. And that's why I think I'm going to settle for a grade of B- on this one. There's really not a whole heck of a lot else to say about it. Again, because that Anvil, I really think just does, overshadow the story somewhat. So I think I'm going to be a little bit short with this particular review and kind of leave it at that and leave it with that grade. Thank you as always for watching. Please like this episode review. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and please leave your comments about what you thought about this episode. Look forward to seeing them. Thank you again, and I'll see you next time.